What is up, everybody, and welcome into the show. Glad you guys in. We are talking week one fantasy football questions. So I'm going to be taking your questions the minute you hop in, and I'm going to be answering all week one fantasy football questions. We're talking about tonight's game, whether it be DFS or your draft league's lineup setting. Come at me with your questions, and I got you. So let's wait for this to fill up, and we will get going. How y'all doing today? How y'all doing? Just waiting for some people to hop in. I'm enjoying doing this live streaming. It's fun. Something I haven't done in 3 years of having my channel. I just now started doing it. This is only my third live stream. If this is the first one you're catching. Yeah. Ask away fantasy football questions. What's up? I see we got a few of you in here now. Ask away. Whatever you have, week one fantasy football questions, I'm here for you. Ask away. Week one fantasy football questions. Let's get it. What's up, everybody? Good to see a few more people joining. Ask away whatever questions you may have, fantasy football related. Any questions about tonight's game, this weekend, anything week one? Just waiting for a few more people to roll in. I'm betting heavily on Devontae Smith and Christian Watson. I have a feeling we got a big game coming for Smith and Watson. Just got a feeling. Sweet. Appreciate you joining the live stream. I don't think A.J. Brown's necessarily going to be shut down. I don't know. Devontae Smith had a big week one last season. He typically does well against these kind of defenses that focus typically on a pass rush. I don't know. I think they can both have big nights. You, Bryn? Are you saying you have AJ Brown? I mean, look, AJ Brown really dominates on those 5 to 7 yard slants where Jalen Hurts has to release the ball quickly, and the Packers do have a good pass rush, so they might have to throw a lot of those passes tonight to AJ Brown. So it's possible AJ Brown has a big game. I just think that Devontae Smith is really going to uptick this year. I think he's going to have a good season. So I don't know. I'm banking on him starting in week 1 and going off. Just waiting for a few more people to join. Honestly, man, I don't know. Look, he's a 30-year-old running back, right? And if you look at all kinds of historical data in fantasy, it'll tell you that at the age of 28, running backs typically fall off. He spent his entire career getting absolutely blasted by defenses because of the physicality that he runs with. I mean, obviously, it was him running over them a lot of times. But the point is, he has a lot of wear and tear based on his running style and the fact that he played almost his entire career in Tennessee behind a bad offensive line. So all that wear and tear, I just don't trust that he still has tread on the tires, to be honest with you. With that being said, the Ravens also have a bad offensive line. They were getting absolutely abused by Chris Jones last night, and any team with elite pass rushers is going to give them fits because their offensive line is very young. So I don't expect Derrick Henry to be as explosive as he used to be. With that being said, I do expect him to have good touchdown upside. We saw it last night. He got in the end zone. Vegas has him projected to be one of the top touchdown scoring leaders in fantasy this season at the running back position, if not the leader in fantasy points at the running back position. So with that being said, I think that we could rely on Derrick Henry to give us a good touchdown floor, but I don't expect him to have as many explosive plays as he used to have, if that answers your question. So I think he will be startable on a weekly basis due to his touchdown upside. But last night, I think we're going to see a lot of those games where he has less than 100 rushing yards. Yeah. Ask away, everybody. As many fantasy football questions as you want. It was a good sign to see Lamar Jackson run so efficiently last night, though. So if you're a Lamar Jackson owner, that's a good thing. Yeah, I mean, 100-plus rushing yards. What did he have, like 14 rushing attempts? I think he had 14 rushing attempts last night. That's pretty amazing. Let's go ahead and bet heavily on A.J. Brown tonight, too. I mean, the Packers have a good pass rush, so those 7-yard slants that they like to run A.J. Brown on should be kind of a go-to for them tonight. So we're betting heavily on A.J. Brown. Can anybody tell me the over/under on A.J. Brown's passing yardage tonight? What's his over/under? What's his over/under on Underdog for his projected yardage totals? I mean, yeah, Alexander is obviously one of the better corners in the league, but AJ Brown, I don't want to say AJ Brown is matchup proof. He definitely has the ability to get shut down, but my thing is like this. Like the Packers have a good pass rush, right? They're probably going to be trying to put pressure on Jalen Hurts. So Jalen Hurts' go-to is going to be those quick 5 to 7 yard slants that they like to run AJ Brown on. And he's going to be trying to get rid of the ball quickly. And AJ Brown is the guy that they use for that because he's so good at getting open, 5 to 7 yards downfield on those little slants. So, sorry, I watched Kellen Moore in Dallas and then San Diego. But if Jair Alexander shut him down, I wouldn't be all that surprised. The dude is one of the best corners in the game for a reason. Yeah, game in South America. Yeah, I mean, it's the whole thing is kind of weird. Like it'll be interesting to see how the travel conditions affect the way that these players play. I mean, it could be a little bit different. Players aren't used to playing on a Friday night. Playing overseas essentially. It's going to be interesting. Yeah, I think that AJ Brown and Devontae Smith can both have big years. I mean, from a season-long standpoint, I'm a little bit bigger on AJ Brown, but obviously Devontae Smith has a chance to match his production this year, and we got Devontae Smith in like the third round of drafts. So if Devontae Smith goes off, he's going to win people a lot of money. Anybody else? Fantasy questions? Do I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is a potential regression candidate when compared to last season? No, I do not. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to absolutely explode again. He plays a majority of his games in domes this year. That's a huge factor. Indoor conditions, nice conditions, typically lead to good wide receiver production. That being said, the Lions are a top 5 projected overall in the NFL as far as Vegas is concerned. And with that being said, we know that he is locked in for the clear-cut number 1 starter role at the wide receiver position. And his targets are absolutely guaranteed. This dude's going to get 10 targets a game on average no matter what this season. He's a tremendous talent. Yes, he finished as the wide receiver 3 last year, but I think he's locked and loaded to be a top 5 wide receiver again, bro. Honestly, I see him being a top 5 wide receiver again this year. Josh Jacobs is here. I think Josh Jacobs is going to explode, bro. Josh Jacobs is a running back who has displayed tremendous talent in the past. I mean, remember the 2022 season? He was the number 1 running back in standard leagues, the number 3 running back in PPR leagues, and now he's going over to a team that's a far better offense than he's ever played for, playing behind a far better offensive line that he's ever played for. And A.J. Dillon, the pest that used to cut into Aaron Jones's fantasy production, goes down in the preseason. This is Josh Jacobs' backfield all to himself. Obviously, Marshawn Lloyd will get a little bit of work, but it's already been said out of camp that Josh Jacobs is going to be the 3-down back in this offense. This dude is going to go off. There are so many wide receiving weapons in Green Bay that he's going to be facing very light box because you have to account for guys like Christian Watson and Dontavian Wicks taking the top off the defense. And when that happens, Josh Jacobs is going to be facing light boxes. He's going to eat as far as those little dump-offs out of the backfield. He's going to eat as far as his rushing efficiency. Look for him to have higher rushing efficiency than he's ever had in his entire career in this offense. And obviously way higher touchdown upside as well. Who am I going with tonight? I think the Eagles are going to win. I think the Eagles win by like 3 points. I think it'll be a close game. I was watching SportsCenter earlier, and a lot of the analysts had Green Bay. It kind of surprised me, but Vegas does have Philly favored. I think that Philly is a slightly better team overall. I mean, we have to see Jordan Love have like another good season to be like fully sold on him. I think he's going to have another great year. I'm not saying I don't, but at the end of the day, we know what we're getting with a Jalen Hurts-led offense. It's just more of a sure thing. And then you add one of the best running backs in the entire NFL to the backfield. I just think that this offense and this run game in Philly is going to be totally unstoppable. I just don't see how anybody's going to stop their run game. So, yeah, I'm going to say like I'll give you a score. Philly. I think it'll be a relatively high-scoring game. Philly 33-27. Yep, Kels, Rashee Rice. I told you, I said, I'm going to come back on, and you can call me an idiot if Rashee Rice has a bad game. He did not have a bad game, so luckily we landed that one, and I hope that everybody that watched my live stream started Rashee Rice because he certainly had a very good night. If he would have gotten in the end zone, he would have had a massive game. But, 100-plus receiving yards, 7 receptions, great performance for PPR. The dude looks like he's going to be by far and away the main target hog in the offense. Romeo Doubs, Jaylen Warren, and flex. Jaylen Warren, bro. Look, there's a very it's a very crowded wide receiver room in Green Bay. So the way I look at the Green Bay wide receivers is I'm going to be betting on talent. And in my personal opinion, Romeo Doubs is the least talented out of the 4 starting wide receivers in Green Bay. He's not as talented as Christian Watson, Dontavian Wicks, or Jaden Reed, in my opinion. So considering the fact that we don't know who the guy is going to be every week, I'm betting on talent when I'm betting on the Green Bay wide receivers. So I am not going to be starting Romeo Doubs anytime soon. And I think that Jaylen Warren actually has a pretty decent season. I'm starting Jaylen Warren. Who's your tight end 1 on the whole season? Boy, that's a tough question. Last year, my tight end rankings were pretty accurate. Tight end 1 the whole season. I mean, the chalkiest thing to do would obviously be to just go ahead and bet on Sam Laporta. But I don't know. Isaiah Likely. No, I'm just kidding. But wouldn't that be something? It was amazing to see what he did last night. I'm going to go with a bold take here. I'm going to say Dalton Kincaid. I'm going to say Dalton Kincaid is the number 1 tight end in fantasy this year. I think that in Buffalo, they're going to be looking for a new target hog. We obviously have good wide receivers in Keon Coleman and Curtis Samuel, but neither of them, I don't think at any point in their career will ever be what Stephon Diggs was. I could be wrong on that. Keon Coleman could make me eat my words, but in year 1, they're going to be looking for a new number 1 target in the offense, and I think that Dalton Kincaid is going to be the guy. I mean, this dude was already drawing comparisons to Travis Kelce when coming in the league. Evan Ingram certainly could be. But yeah, I'm going to go with Dalton Kincaid on this one. I think he's going to be a target hog, and a Josh Allen-led offense was just always a recipe for extreme fantasy success. Evan Ingram, that's a bold one, Abraham. I like it. I could certainly see a path to him being like top 4 or 5. I don't have him as 1, but I mean, it's certainly possible, right? The dude's talented enough. And fun fact, Evan Ingram was actually he was top 10 in the league in targets last year out of any position in fantasy, even wide receivers. So this dude had an insane target share in his offense. So, I mean, it is certainly possible. Lots of catches and more touchdowns. You might be right. Ask away, everybody. Last question for me. You can ask as many questions as you want, my friend. Last question for me. How do you feel about Kyren Williams this year? Got him in the 3rd round. Yeah, I mean, I like him. Kyren Williams is just such an elite talent. He's one of those guys that, you look at his athletic intangibles, and coming into the league, most people would have told you that he was too small and too slow to be successful because his 40 time isn't good. But if you watch this dude on the field, he's incredibly explosive. He's playing for a Sean McVay offense. Sean McVay loves using one particular workhorse running back. I honestly think that they took Blake Corum more as an insurance policy and just to take a little bit of the workload off Kyren Williams. Even though he's returning punts, I still think he's going to get 80% of the work in the backfield. The dude is just way too good. And the Rams offense with a healthy Cooper Kupp, keep in mind, Cooper Kupp was the number 1 weapon in this offense for a very long time. The Rams offense with a healthy Cooper Kupp is going to explode. So I love Kyren Williams to have another good season. I think as a byproduct of being in a Sean McVay-led offense and the Rams offense, who is projected to be one of the better offenses in the league, I think Kyron's going to have another monster season. What do I think about Rachaad White? Do you take Bucky Irving? Yes, I do take Bucky Irving as a threat. Bucky Irving is a talented enough back to take significant work away from Rachaad White. Rachaad White was not efficient from a yards per carry standpoint last season. His yards per carry efficiency was not good. He was basically saved on what he did through the receiving game and touchdowns. With that being said, I don't expect him to have nearly the year that he did last year. I'm not big on Rachaad White. I've drafted very little of him on Underdog. If you are a Rachaad White owner, I would try to sell him high before the season starts because all it takes is a bad week one, and he might not be sellable after that. Yeah. Ask away, everybody. Yeah, I was high on Pollard last year. I was amazed that he didn't produce in the Cowboys offense the way I thought he was going to do. And I'm not trying to make a cop-out for my take, but I very much think it was because of suffering the broken leg the year before. I mean, how else do you explain him coming out and just not looking nearly as explosive? I think that the broken leg was holding him back a little bit. Now that he's 2 years removed from the injury, or really a year and a half removed from the injury, I think he's going to be a little bit better as far as an explosiveness standpoint. Now, with that being said, I'm not sold on the Tennessee offense. I don't know if the offense is going to be good at all. I think they might outperform expectations, but I think expecting a big touchdown season out of Tony Pollard is probably not good. I think he might exceed his ADP by a round at the most. Who are you referencing, Abraham? Who are you saying has a good matchup this week for week one? Oh, Rachaad White. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm going to sell him before the season starts no matter what, but, man, if he goes off in week one, he's definitely a sell-high candidate. I do not have any faith in Rachaad White from a season-long standpoint. Injury held him back. Look at his production the first few games. The last few games versus the first half. Yeah, I definitely think that Pollard's injury held him back coming back from the broken leg. I mean, it's one of those things where you get stronger over time. Luckily, with a broken leg, you don't always need surgery. Sometimes it can just heal itself, and over time, you just get stronger. And I think that Tony Pollard, he's going to have a lot of his explosiveness back. I think he has one more year of being a very talented back before age starts to get him. But as of right now, I'm just not sold on the Tennessee offense. And I'm so big on drafting players in good offenses. No matter how talented they are, the offensive situation is just so critically important. We got some more people rolling in. Ask away, ladies and gentlemen. As many questions as you want. Super chats are appreciated. Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, look, Cooper Kupp is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL still. And, it's crazy. Okay, obviously in 2021, Cooper Kupp led the NFL in fantasy points per game. In 2022, he led the NFL in fantasy points per game for a second season in a row before he went down with his injury. But he still led the league in fantasy points per game and was absolutely killing every other wide receiver before he went down with his injury. And then last year when he was on the field, he clearly wasn't 100%. I mean, you can't just read the box scores in fantasy to be a good analyst, right? You have to watch the games, okay? Cooper Kupp clearly was not 100% when he was playing last year. You could see it in his play on the field. He wasn't as quick or as explosive as he normally is. And now he's actually healthy. Watch out, because Cooper Kupp's going to bounce back in a massive way. I think will be the top green. That is a very hard question to answer. And I'm going to say Christian Watson. I'm just so sold on the talent, the speed, the combination of height and speed. That's all I really have to go on here because there's just so many good wide receivers in this offense. Dontayvion Wicks is an incredibly explosive wide receiver in his own right. Obviously, Jaden Reed is very fast and explosive. It's maybe the most crowded wide receiver room in the league, so it's very hard to figure out who's going to be the guy, but I'm going to lean Christian Watson. you believe Worthy value will completely drop once Hollywood returns? No, I don't. But what we have to watch out with Xavier Worthy is this. He only had 3 touches last night, right? He had the 2 targets and 2 catches and the 1 explosive run. So, like, obviously, if his opportunity share doesn't go up in the offense, we can't expect him to do what he did last night. I mean, 3 touches and 2 touchdowns is going to be incredibly rare. So I don't think that he's going to completely fall off a cliff. And his weekly ceiling is incredibly high in this offense, given the fact that he's as explosive and fast as he is, and he has Pat Mahomes slinging him the rock. Look for Xavier Worthy to put up some massive games this year. But as far as a safe floor, if his target share doesn't go up, it might actually be a problem. But no, I don't think Hollywood returning is necessarily cap his ceiling. I think he still has a very high weekly ceiling regardless. Ask away, everybody, as many questions as you want. Got a few more of you rolling in here. Like to see it. Like to see it. Y'all excited about tonight's game or what? Friday night football. NFL Friday night football. You can't beat it. Thank you, buddy. Good luck to all this season. Great takes here from Crushing. I appreciate you, ABEV805. You're actually my first super chat since I started live streaming, so I really do appreciate you, man. Yeah, man. Ask away as many questions as you got, bro. And just to let y'all know, I'm going to be ramping up the content this year. I am going to be uploading so much. I haven't been able to upload any, regular videos over the past few days. Obviously, I live streamed yesterday. I live streamed today, but I am going to be live streaming a lot. I'm going to be uploading a video almost every single day on this channel. So stick with me this year. I am going to absolutely blow this channel up because, I don't know, this is the year that I'm going all in on it. So stick around. This is where you need to be. And I'm going to be helping you with fantasy football all season long. More and more people rolling in. Like to see it. Like to see it. As many fantasy football questions as you want, especially if your name is EV805. Yeah, JG, I appreciate you, man. I'm looking forward to it as well. I do this because I love it, right? I'm having a blast doing this, and I want to continue to just grow the channel, and I want to help as many people as possible win. Nothing gives me more satisfaction than hearing success stories from my viewers. I just absolutely love it. It's a rush. So I want to help as many people as I possibly can this season. Let's hear it. Of course, bro, you had good takes last year with Mike Evans and Amari Cooper. Sucks Watson. I know, man. Like, can Deshaun Watson please just stay healthy so he can prove everybody wrong? Like, I just want him to stay healthy for a full season in the Browns offense. People are being so unfair to him because his first season, he came in and didn't have any time to learn the playbook. And then last year, he got hurt at the very beginning of the year. I mean, like, it's really not fair to judge whether he's been successful in Cleveland yet or not. This year, if he plays a full, healthy season, mark my words, he's going off. Any kicker recommendations besides Tucker? Look, man, when it comes to kickers, just play kickers in good offenses. I don't like to overthink it because you can have, like, for example, if Justin Tucker got traded to the Giants, I would never consider starting him because that offense isn't going to be in the red zone often enough to justify starting him. So when it comes to kickers, I don't like to overthink it. I just like to play kickers that are in good offenses. That's by far and away my kicker strategy. And obviously, I think that Brandon Aubrey is one of the best kickers in fantasy because he plays in an offense that, although I think the offense is a little bit overhyped, Vegas does have the Dallas Cowboys projected as a top 5 overall offense in the NFL, and Brandon Aubrey is an incredibly efficient kicker. So you have the combination of elite talent at the kicker position and a great offense. So Brandon Aubrey's probably the best kicker you can have in fantasy. Talk about bad offenses. What's your take on Neighbors this year? My take is just that. He's in a very bad offense, but he's an incredibly explosive player. I think what you get from Malik Neighbors is some spike weeks where he has 100-plus receiving yards. But do y'all think he's even going to score 5 touchdowns this year? I don't even think he gets in the end zone 5 times. That's the problem. And that's the problem with players that are in offenses as bad as New York is that, like, what's his touchdown upside? He's probably going to score 3 touchdowns this year. I mean, that's what it is. Now, if he exploded for a 150-yard game or even a 200-yard game because of his incredible talent and explosiveness, I could see that happening. So for best ball, he's okay. But I still think that he's being overdrafted and he's being taken too highly. Also, kickers who play in more domes. Yes, JG, yes, absolutely. Waddle or Neighbors? Waddle by a million miles. Waddle is in a top 5 overall projected offense, and these players are probably equal in talent. I mean, I think that Jalen Waddle is just as good of a football player as Malik Neighbors, and he is in a top 5 overall projected offense in the NFL, whereas Neighbors is in a complete trash offense with what I think is honestly one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL in Daniel Jones. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that is true. I mean, a lot of mouths to feed in Miami for sure. That's why Jalen Waddle is probably another guy that's a good best ball target, because the only receiver in this offense that you could rely on to go off like every single week is Tyreek Hill. I mean, obviously the dude has back-to-back 1,700 plus yard receiving seasons, but Jalen Waddle is an incredible talent in an elite offense. A player like that is always going to warrant flex consideration at the absolute worst, if not wide receiver 2 consideration. And for best ball purposes, he's obviously really good because his weekly ceiling is as high as any wide receiver in the NFL. So, yeah. But you're right. I mean, like, there's 3 elite weapons in the backfield now. I mean, we have Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane. We have, Jalen Wright, another speedster, added to the backfield. There is a ton of mouths to feed in Miami. Definitely one of the – and Devon Achane is going to be catching passes. They use Devon Achane as kind of a hybrid running back and wide receiver. So it's possible that Devon Achane takes some targets away from Jalen Waddle as well. So I totally understand where you're coming from, but I cannot sit a player with that level of talent in that good of an offense. I'm going to be starting Jalen Waddle most weeks. Now, if he starts to do what he did last year and we're like 3-4 weeks into the season and he's still displaying that he doesn't have as high of a ceiling as he did in 2022, then I might consider benching him. But for the start of the year, I'm probably going to be starting Jalen Waddle in all my leagues at either my wide receiver 2 spot or my flex. Yeah. Ask away as many questions as you guys want. There is no limit. Etienne, Amari Cooper. You traded Etienne, Amari Cooper, and Tyreek for Jefferson, Gibbs. And man, that's really close. I mean, obviously the best player in the trade is Tyreek Hill. But you got Jefferson and Gibbs. I mean, look for Gibbs to have a way bigger season than Etienne, so you're winning there. You're obviously winning Justin Jefferson over Amari Cooper by like quite a bit. And then Tyreek Hill, but Tyreek Hill's the best player in the trade. That is so close. Oh, man, that's so close. Honestly, man, it's a toss-up, and I know that you want like a for sure answer one way or the other, but it's just so incredibly close that it's hard to pick one side. If I had to pick one side, I would say that you won the trade because you got 2 super elite players and only gave up 1 super elite player in Tyreek Hill. So I would say that you won the trade by a smidgen. How do I feel about Drake London this year? Okay, obviously with Drake London, we've got a guy with incredible talent. You know, he's 6'4". You know, he's a good route runner. He's got good speed. He's supposed to go off like, every year with that kind of talent profile. Obviously, he's had no quarterback to throw him the ball. So I like Drake London this year. I think he's going to have a good season. However, I do think that he's being drafted too highly. To draft a wide receiver that's never been even a wide receiver 3 in the second round is just absolutely obnoxious, if you ask me. So I think he would have been a lot better in round 4, and I would have been sweeping him up in every draft if I was getting Drake London in round 4. However, I don't have a lot of shares because I just don't like him. Not so silent majority. What's up, man? I don't. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. I don't know if you covered this yet, but you think there is a changing of the guard in Baltimore at the tight end position? Honestly, bro, like I don't like to overreact to week one, but in this particular case, I do. I mean, if you look at last night's game, they were targeting Isaiah Likely like, I mean, what did he have? Like 12 targets? Mark Andrew had 3 targets. Now, this might have been something to do with the fact that Mark Andrews is the thicker, like more built tight end, and so they wanted to use him to block. I guess that's always possible. Like, hey, Mark Andrews, we're going to need you to block in this game, so we're going to pass to Isaiah Likely. But, like, I think the more likely scenario is that Mark Andrews just isn't as explosive as he used to be, and you've got an insane, uber-talented athlete in Isaiah Likely who really just needed to learn how to play football at the NFL level. And I personally think that as good as Mark Andrews was in his prime, I think that Isaiah Likely has potential to be better than Mark Andrews ever was. Like that play that he made last night on the 49-yard touchdown catch, even a prime Mark Andrews doesn't make that play. There's very few tight ends that do. So I think that his ceiling is high. I think the Ravens know that. And they need athletic pass catchers with Zay Flowers being their wide receiver 1 and Rashad Bateman being their wide receiver 2. They need explosive playmakers that can make plays downfield. I think Isaiah Likely is going to be the guy now. Yeah. And yeah, good luck in your matchup against me. I mean, obviously it could still go either way. But yeah. But yeah, EV805, like I wanted to be clear that I do like Drake London this season. I just don't like him at cost. I think that he went a little bit too early in drafts, but we're past drafts now. If you have Drake London on your team, like you can at least feel good about the fact that I do think he is going to have a good season with Kirk Cousins throwing him the ball. Yes. Yep. Good luck to you too, my man. And good luck on the season. I mean, it's only week 1. So like if I happen to beat you this week, well, you know, we got a whole season ahead of us and your team is pretty stacked. So then again, like all of our teams are stacked. Like these 8-man leagues are so crazy, man, because the teams are just so ridiculously stacked. What do I think about Justice Hill? I think that Justice Hill is probably, I don't think he's startable. I mean, obviously he doesn't really have touchdown upside because who are they going to be using on the goal line? Who are they going to be using within the 10-yard line? It's always going to be Derrick Henry. Now, obviously Justice Hill is going to be the pass catching back and he has the explosiveness to make some big plays, but like he's not going to have the volume or the red zone usage to justify being a weekly starter. He's only a start at a flex in like deeper leagues, bro. Yeah, the teams are absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, man. Unfortunately, I'm not that big on Justice Hill. I don't think he's gonna have enough high value touches, bro, because those are all gonna go to Derrick Henry. Yeah, blow up the chat, everybody. Ask as many questions as you want. I do not care. Keaton Mitchell is out for weeks, but Hill may fall to third after that. Yeah, and obviously Keaton Mitchell's an explosive back, but you know, coming back from injury, is he going to be the back that he was before the injury? Like we know how these things work. My favorite draft strategy this year is definitely the hero running back strategy. I think that this is going to be one of the seasons where we see one of the top running backs have just like a legendary season, whether it be Breece Hall, Bijan, CMC. It could be Jahmyr Gibbs. It could be Saquon. Any running back going in one of the first 2 rounds has that kind of superhero upside this year. So I think that if you're to just completely avoid running backs and only go like 0 running back and just draft 4 wide receivers up top, like a lot of people do in underdog drafts, and then start drafting running backs, I think that's a little bit of a disadvantage. Now, obviously, with one of your first 2 picks, you need to take a wide receiver because it's incredibly important for best ball. It's incredibly important for any format nowadays. But hero running backs by far and away my favorite because I think one of these 6 elite running backs that are going up top between, you know, Breeze, Saquon, you know who they are. I think that one of them, maybe even 2 of them, maybe even 3 of them have like a superhero type ceiling on this year. And I think they're going to explode. So I think that you need to draft a lot of shares of them. Man, I wish we could have started a second subscriber league. That would have been fun. I just like I did it all at the last second. So like it was hard to get the league filled, you know. Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, like, because in fantasy football, like, obviously, like, these things change every year. And then people think that the way it was one year is just the way it stays. I mean, like, if you look at the past 10 years of fantasy football, like, how often has it changed from wide receiver being the most important position to running back being the most important position? It's already it's flip-flopped like 3 or 4 times just in the past decade. And it's like every 2 years it flips, right? And so I think what you're saying about running backs is accurate. I think that the minute one of these running backs or two of these running backs come out and have like a Christian McCaffrey last year type season, if like two of them that went in the middle of first round, or even maybe one of them like Saquon that goes in the second round sometimes, has a superhero type season, they're going to bring back the running back hype, bro. And people are going to be always drafting running backs at the top of round 1 next year. It just kind of goes in waves. Yeah. Yeah, next year. Yes, sir. Man, I am pumped about the game tonight. I know you guys are too. Friday Night Football, this is as good as it gets. I live for this, man. Oh, no. I know you're Anthony because, like, I know that, like, right when you said that you were joining the league, like, you hopped in, like, pretty much right away. And so, like, just by process of elimination, I know, like, who you are. Yeah. Would be easier if you had your name, but, like, I figured it out. I think that AJ Brown's going to have a big game tonight. I just think, like I was saying earlier, like they're going to need AJ Brown in those 5 to 7 yard slants because the Packers are going to be bringing the house to put pressure on Jalen Hurts. So what does Jalen Hurts do when he's under pressure? He either busts a huge run, like a big rushing play. Now he could dump off to Saquon. And what he also does is he likes throwing those little 5 to 7 yard slants to AJ Brown because he needs to get rid of the ball quickly and have somebody who could run after the catch. So I think that A.J. Brown has a huge night tonight. I also think that Saquon has a very good night. So I'm looking at A.J. Brown and Saquon on the Eagles, and I'm looking at Christian Watson on the Packers because I think that they're going to uncork one to Christian Watson, and I think he makes a huge play tonight. And look for him to have a few big-time targets downfield. If he's able to catch one of them, and that's a big if because deep balls are hard to complete, if he's able to catch one of them, that could make his night. I think they're going to uncork a few long passes to Christian Watson downfield. So I'm taking Christian Watson as my wide receiver in the Green Bay offense tonight. And I definitely also think that Josh Jacobs is going to have a big game. I'm huge on Josh Jacobs this season with the improved offensive line, with the improved overall offense. Look for him to have a monster game most nights this season. So to answer your question, Christian Watson and Josh Jacobs on the Packers end, and A.J. Brown and Saquon on the Eagles end. Thoughts on Justin Fields? Well, this is going to be interesting to see. I think that people were a little bit unfair to Justin Fields in the preseason. I mean, that first game that he played where he fumbled 2 snaps, if you watch the play, a lot of it was on the center, not just Justin Fields. And he completed 5 out of his 6 passes. And the one pass that he did in that preseason game where everyone was ripping on him was a complete pass, and the refs made a terrible call and said it was incomplete. And since it was preseason, they didn't challenge it. But he would have been 6 for 6 passing had he completed that pass and maybe scored a touchdown, and everybody would be talking about him differently. So if the ref would have just made a good call on that play, well, he could have scored a touchdown, and everybody would be talking about Justin Fields like he's a completely different quarterback. So I think people are jumping the gun a little bit too much on Justin Fields. I do think that he has upside. He's going to need to prove himself to me for me to put him on the field every week and make him a starting quarterback. But I think for best ball, he's very, very exciting. And I think he has tremendous upside because of his athleticism and rushing abilities. Absolutely, Anthony. You know I got you, bro. Come in to my live streams, bro, and ask me as many questions as you want, man. I'm an open book here. Another thing, who do you have as the Cowboys running back? Man, the Cowboys backfield is such an absolute mess. I mean, like, there are reports out of camp saying it's Rico Dowdle. We have 2 running backs that were absolutely elite in their prime in Dalvin Cook and Ezekiel Elliott. So it's just so hard to put your finger on it because you've got 2 running backs that at one time were like the best running back in the league. And now they're both washed up and past their prime. And then you got a guy in Rico Dowdle who I don't think will ever be that good of a running back, but does have some talent and explosiveness. And all reports are that Rico Dowdle is going to be the number 1 guy. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to bank on youth and pick Rico Dowdle just because he's the younger back. But I got to say, man, I am not 100% confident in that take. because I think it could be any of the three between Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, and Rico Dowdle. But if I were to put a percentage on it, I would say that Rico Dowdle is, probably the highest likelihood to be the running back one in the offense. The Bengals may have no Chase and no Higgins on Sunday. The wide receivers in that game may be, the wide receivers in that game may be a rookie and a second year, man. Yeah, I mean, I think that T. Higgins could explode. I mean, obviously, like with no Jamar Chase, I think T. Higgins has a huge night. I have Daniels and Goff as quarterbacks. Would you drop Goff for Fields in a 10-man PPR? Well, first of all, Aiden, I would drop Daniels before I would drop Jared Goff. So if I were to drop either quarterback for anybody, I would drop Daniel Jones. And yes, I would do that right now. I would drop Daniel Jones at the snap of a finger just in case Justin Fields ends up coming in and just totally taking over the Steelers offense and ends up being the starter. His upside is astronomically higher than Daniel Jones's upside. So don't drop Jared Goff. He's playing in a top 5 projected offense. I would drop Daniel Jones for Justin Fields in a 10-man PPR in a heartbeat. Yeah. Is Higgins really doubtful for this game? Oh, wow. I didn't even see that report, bro, to be honest with you. When did this happen? I mean, this had to be like super recent. Dang. Oh, I'm tripping, Aiden. My bad. I read Daniel Jones. I was like, why would you? I was like, okay. That's my fault, bro. My fault. Yeah. So you're asking if you should Jayden Daniels for Justin Fields? Absolutely not. Absolutely not on Jayden Daniels. But you were asking about dropping Jared Goff for Justin Fields. I wouldn't drop Jared Goff for Justin Fields, bro. I would not do that. I just the Lions offense is a sure thing. And obviously Jared Goff gives you absolutely no rushing upside. So the theoretical ceiling for Justin Fields' fantasy production this year is higher than Jared Goff because he's a rushing upside quarterback. But what do you think the odds are that Justin Fields plays all year and is in an offense that's even above average? Both of those things happening are technically a little bit unlikely. So I'm going to go with the guaranteed production of the Lions offense, and I am going to keep Jared Goff, my friend. Yes, it was so random today. What, the game being today, you mean? Yeah, I think Jared Goff has a very solid season. I mean, Goff is one of those like slept on fantasy quarterbacks because like he's not flashy, right? And he doesn't have rushing upside, but like he's just stable, guaranteed production as a default of being in the Lions offense. Yeah. All right, you guys, I have some guests coming over, so I'm going to have to hop on out of here. But let me answer these last few questions. How about Chris Olave? I got him at the 401 in a home league. Put him in flex. I like Chris Olave from the fact that he's going to be getting a lot of targets. He's going to be the obvious number one target hog in his offense. He has immense talent. Chris Olave is a true bona fide wide receiver one from a talent perspective. The only quarrel that I have with Chris Olave this year is I'm not 100% sold on the Saints offense. Either way, he is a smash play at your flex. Like if you've already got a wide receiver one and a wide receiver two, Chris Olave at your flex is absolute money. Goff is great value. Enjoy the game, Bryce. Talk to you later, buddy. Yeah, Anthony, I appreciate you dropping in, man. My live stream schedule, I don't want to say that I'm going to be doing live streams every single game. There might be some that I miss, but I'm going to be here. I'm going to live stream for 80 to 90% of the games. I'm certainly going to be live streaming every Sunday morning. So that's for sure. Yeah, I appreciate you guys dropping in. Thanks for the super chat, EV805. I really do appreciate that, man. And I will catch y'all later.